welcome back to our channel. Old pennies equals big profit? These rare 1-cent coins could make you rich, watch till the end. The 1961 US 1-cent penny came to life at a time when the nation was teetering between eras. Dwight D. Eisenhower was nearing the end of his presidency. The Cold War was intensifying. Americans were investing in the space race, civil rights movements were gaining momentum, and the economy pulsed with post-war confidence. Amid this vast historical landscape, millions of pennies were struck by the U.S. Mint, continuing the long-standing Lincoln cent series that had begun in 1909. At face value, they were identical, common copper coins that jingled in every pocket, handed out in stores and school lunches, collected in jars and drawers, unnoticed and unremarkable. But buried in that sea of copper was a mystery waiting to be found. For decades, collectors rarely gave the 1961 penny much thought. It was an abundant year for minting. The Philadelphia and Denver mints combined to produce billions of them. Most survived in circulation for years, their surfaces slowly eroded by time and handling. But beneath the rust of repetition, a few coins held something far less ordinary. It was Henry Wilcox, a former machinist from Michigan, who would first unknowingly hold one of these flawed marvels in his hand. In 2002, while helping his granddaughter assemble a school coin collection, Henry dumped a jar of pennies he had been accumulating since the 1970s onto his kitchen table. He liked how the older dates looked. The older the coin, the more stories it seemed to tell. His granddaughter was sorting them by year when she pointed to one from 1961. "This one looks weird," she said. Henry leaned in, adjusting his glasses. The coin wasn't damaged, but something about Lincoln's face looked slightly off, as if part of the profile was ghosting in another direction. The word "Liberty" looked like it had a second shadow behind it. Curious, he pulled out his old magnifier, the one he used to check engine parts decades ago, and examined the coin more closely. He saw clear doubling on Lincoln's eye, nose, and the "In God We Trust" motto. The numbers in the date had an unnatural thickness, almost as if someone had struck them twice but misaligned them slightly. The surface showed minimal wear, and the copper gleamed under his kitchen light. At first, Henry thought it was just a trick of the light or a circulation quirk. But something nagged at him. He took it to a nearby coin shop, where the owner, an elderly gentleman with a reputation for catching small details, examined it in silence. After several long minutes, he looked up with an arched eyebrow. "This," he said slowly, "is not just another penny." Word spread. The coin was sent to a national grading service. The results shocked even seasoned collectors. It was a confirmed double die obverse, one of the most dramatic and well-preserved examples seen from that year. The doubling wasn't just light, it was bold and visible to the naked eye. Experts traced it to a die that had clearly been misaligned during the early production stages, a flaw that could have produced only a limited run before being replaced. What made Henry's coin even more captivating was the perfect preservation of the error. Unlike most error coins, which are often marred by damage or wear, this one retained crisp details and vibrant copper luster. Graders assigned it a remarkably high grade for a coin over 4 decades old. Collectors began to pay attention to 1961 cents with fresh eyes. Soon, similar examples emerged across the country. One collector in Texas discovered a penny with distinct doubling in the word "trust" and a minor die clash on the reverse. Another from Oregon posted images of a coin with strong die rotation, Lincoln's head slightly askew compared to the memorial reverse. Yet another surfaced with visible die cracks extending from the rim inward, adding to the growing belief that 1961 had been a quietly unstable year for die integrity at the Philadelphia Mint. Then came the real twist. A collector from Utah, combing through a bulk lot of old coins purchased at an estate sale, found a 1961 cent that rang unusually sharp when dropped on a hard surface. It felt slightly lighter. Further testing confirmed it had been struck on a planchet intended not for a U.S. penny, but for a foreign coin, believed to be from the Dominican Republic. The off-metal composition and size differences were subtle but measurable. Yet the Lincoln design had transferred fully and clearly. That coin, once authenticated, sent shockwaves through the numismatic community. Its sale at auction nearly reached 6 figures, driven by intense competition among modern era collectors. All of this forced a re-evaluation of the year 1961. What was once dismissed as an ordinary mintage year was now a point of fascination. The errors weren't widespread, but they were diverse and intriguing. The double dies, the misaligned collars, the off-metal strikes, all indicated a fleeting period of imperfection in the mint's otherwise precise routine. And it was that imperfection, so brief and so hard to detect, that made these coins treasures. Henry Wilcox never sold his penny. He kept it in a display case in his study, next to an old wrench and a photo of him and his granddaughter at her school's coin fair. He liked to say it reminded him that sometimes the things we think are broken are the ones worth holding onto. Today, the 1961 US 1-cent penny is viewed in a dramatically different light by collectors and experts. While the vast majority are still valued at face or slightly above, the rare error specimens, especially those with dramatic double dies, unusual planchets, or pristine condition, have become symbols of the hidden value buried in everyday items. Depending on the visibility of the error, preservation, and uniqueness, these rare 1961 1-cent penny errors have commanded impressive sums, ranging from $60,000 to as much as $135,000 at auction, cementing their place among the most sought-after modern-era Lincoln cents. The 1982 US 1-cent penny occupies a unique place in the history of American coinage, a moment when the mint quietly orchestrated a monumental shift while grappling with growing economic pressures. For decades, the Lincoln cent had been a constant, struck primarily in a composition of 95% copper and 5% zinc or tin. But by the early 1980s, escalating copper prices made this material unsustainable. The year 1982 became a pivotal turning point as the U.S. Mint transitioned the penny to a primarily zinc core with a thin copper coating. This changeover didn't happen overnight. In fact, the transition was marked by experimentation and adjustments, leading to some unexpected results. Millions of pennies were struck in both the old copper alloy and the new zinc composition during the year. To complicate matters further, these coins bore two distinct date styles, one with large numerals and another with small numerals. These seemingly minor differences, combined with the material change, created the perfect storm for minting anomalies. Yet, these irregularities remained largely unnoticed at the time, blending seamlessly into the sea of pocket change. Years later, one of those unnoticed anomalies caught the eye of a young coin collector named Lisa Thompson. Lisa, a lifelong enthusiast with a knack for spotting the unusual, had been poring over her late grandfather's coin collection when she stumbled upon a penny that didn't feel quite right. It was a 1982 cent, and although the design looked normal, the coin itself seemed lighter than expected. When she placed it alongside other pennies of the same year, its faint weight difference became evident. Curious, Lisa conducted a rudimentary experiment, weighing several 1982 pennies from her collection. The results confirmed her suspicion: this particular penny was not made from the expected copper-zinc alloy. Intrigued, she sought the opinion of a local numismatist, who immediately recognized the potential significance of her find. The coin was sent for metallurgical analysis, and the results were groundbreaking. It turned out to be a rare transitional error, a 1982 penny mistakenly struck on a copper planchet instead of the new zinc core. The rarity of such an error was staggering. As the mint had officially ceased copper production partway through the year, these copper planchets should have been entirely eliminated from the system. Yet a few had evidently slipped through, creating a rare and coveted subset of 1982 pennies. Word of Lisa's discovery spread rapidly, igniting a frenzy among collectors. This wasn't just any transitional error, it was one of the first confirmed examples of a 1982 copper penny bearing the small date style, which further differentiated it from others of its kind. The combination of its copper composition, distinct design, and error rarity elevated it to legendary status almost overnight. Other collectors began to comb through their own holdings, hoping to find similar treasures. And indeed, more examples surfaced, though they remained exceedingly scarce. Among them were variations in the large and small date styles, as well as coins with subtle minting errors like die cracks and minor doubling. Each discovery added new layers of fascination to the story of the 1982 penny, turning it into a hallmark of numismatic exploration. But the real twist came when an unusual 1982 penny was discovered during a routine bank search in Ohio. This coin, unlike any seen before, bore all the characteristics of the zinc core variety but had been struck slightly off-center, with part of the design missing. On closer inspection, it also displayed visible die doubling on the words, "In God We Trust," and "Liberty." Experts speculated that it might have been produced during the hectic transitional period when dies and planchets were frequently swapped and adjusted. This discovery further underscored the chaos that marked the mint's operations in 1982. Between switching materials, redesigning dies, and meeting production deadlines, the process had inadvertently created some of the most intriguing anomalies in modern coinage history. Collectors now regard these coins as relics of a turbulent time in the mint's history, each era a testament to the challenges of balancing tradition and progress. Lisa, meanwhile, held on to her copper penny, resisting lucrative offers from private collectors. For her, it represented more than just monetary value. It was a connection to her grandfather, whose passion for coins had inspired her own journey into the numismatic world. She eventually loaned the coin to a museum exhibit, where it became a centerpiece in a display on transitional errors and the evolution of the U.S. penny. Today, the 1982 penny remains one of the most discussed and sought-after coins among enthusiasts. Its dual compositions, large and small date variations, and the rarity of transitional errors have cemented its status as a modern classic. Depending on the specific error and condition, these rare specimens can fetch anywhere from $42,000 to an astonishing $114,000 at auction, making the 1982 penny a prime example of how a small mistake can lead to extraordinary value. The story of the 2014 US 1-cent penny begins in an era where modern coinage had reached a level of precision and consistency unimaginable in earlier times. By this point, advanced technologies and automated processes were the backbone of the U.S. Mint's operations. The Lincoln cent, a staple of American currency since 1909, had seen countless updates over the decades, from its reverse redesigns to its material composition. Yet, even with these advancements, 2014 would prove that no system is ever truly perfect. For decades, the Lincoln penny had been struck using a zinc core with a thin copper plating, a composition introduced in 1982 to replace the costlier all-copper planchets. The minting process was highly refined, capable of producing billions of pennies annually with remarkable accuracy. However, as the sheer volume of coins produced grew, so did the probability of rare errors slipping through the cracks. The 2014 penny would become a vivid example of this phenomenon, captivating collectors and numismatists with its mysterious and unexpected variations. It all began when a sharp-eyed coin collector named Jordan Taylor decided to examine his daily pocket change more closely. Jordan was not an expert numismatist by any means, but he had a hobbyist's curiosity and a keen attention to detail. One evening, as he sifted through a handful of coins, his gaze settled on a 2014 penny that seemed slightly unusual. At first glance, the coin looked ordinary, bearing the familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Union shield on the reverse. But something about the texture and weight of the coin felt different. Jordan's curiosity led him to inspect the penny under a magnifying glass. That's when he noticed a peculiar anomaly: faint doubling on the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," and "Liberty." The letters seemed to echo, as if they had been struck twice, but slightly out of alignment. Even more intriguing was the texture of the surface. It appeared rougher than usual, with patches where the copper plating seemed uneven, exposing hints of the zinc core beneath. Realizing he might have stumbled upon something significant, Jordan reached out to a local coin dealer for advice. The dealer, immediately intrigued, recommended sending the coin to a professional grading service for authentication and analysis. When the results came back, they confirmed what Jordan had hoped: the penny was a genuine error coin, struck with a combination of planchet and die issues that made it a rarity. Word of Jordan's discovery spread quickly, igniting a wave of excitement within the numismatic community. The 2014 penny became a hot topic of discussion, as collectors speculated on how such an error could have occurred in an era of advanced quality control. Experts suggested that the doubling was the result of a mechanical malfunction during the minting process, likely due to misaligned dies. The irregular plating, on the other hand, pointed to inconsistencies in the application of the copper layer over the zinc core, a rare but documented issue in modern pennies. As more collectors began to scrutinize their 2014 pennies, additional examples of errors emerged, each with its own unique characteristics. Some displayed dramatic die cracks running across the Union shield design, while others featured off-center strikes or partial collar errors. One particularly stunning find was a penny with a mirrored finish on one side and a matte finish on the other, a result of mismatched dies intended for different coin types. These discoveries added new layers of intrigue to the story, transforming the 2014 penny from a humble coin into a collector's treasure. Perhaps the most astonishing twist came when a 2014 penny was discovered in a small-town coin shop, showing a highly unusual mintmark anomaly. The mintmark, which should have read D for the Denver Mint, was instead misaligned and appeared partially obliterated, as if the die had been struck at an angle. This specific variation became one of the rarest and most sought-after examples, with collectors willing to pay substantial sums for a piece of numismatic history. Jordan, who had unwittingly sparked the 2014 penny phenomenon, watched in amazement as the value of error coins from this year skyrocketed. Auction houses began listing these pennies with growing frequency, and competitive bidding drove prices higher with each sale. What had once been dismissed as common change was now recognized as a modern marvel, a testament to the enduring allure of rarity and imperfection. The 2014 penny's rise to prominence underscored the importance of vigilance and curiosity among collectors. It served as a reminder that even in an age of technological precision, the human element remains a vital part of the minting process, leaving room for the unexpected. Today, depending on the specific error and its condition, a 2014 penny can command prices ranging from $28,000 to an astonishing $90,000, solidifying its place as one of the most intriguing stories in the world of modern coinage.